Welcome back to True Print for Life. I'm your host, Christina Vera.
And I'm your co-host, Maylin Sambois.
Welcome back for another amazing episode. We are getting ready. We're at the tail end of 2025, which is crazy. I was just telling Dalton, who is our engineer, like it was just Halloween like 5 minutes ago.
And then Thanksgiving, actually.
I mean, Thanksgiving was like a blur. I feel like it went from Halloween to Christmas is next week. And by the time you hear this, it'll probably be the day before Christmas or New Year's Eve. So, yeah. So time is definitely going by. And I think regardless of, how your year has been, whether personally or professionally, there seems to be, a lot of people in the same kind of boat and season of feeling like it's just a lot. It's a lot happening at work. It's a lot happening with your family. And, I think it was just a great opportunity for us to pause and have the conversation of, when you're doing everything right, but it still feels hard. And we are in that, we're not exempt to any of the topics we ever discuss on this podcast. So know that what we're sharing is not that we have it all figured out. It's because we like to learn and lead out loud. And so I think right now, we're seeing that. We're seeing that in a lot of professional settings, a lot of economic settings. And it just feels like everyone's doing the best that they can, but things still feel like hard. They're feeling like maybe you feel like you're not, the outcomes are not there. And so as we're getting ready to head into this season where we're supposed to be pausing and reflecting, for many of us, it's like, but
it's hustling hard, okay?
Right. And so I think it's a great opportunity just to kind of pause as we're getting ready to wrap up a year, and a new year is just a few short weeks away. And, really wanting to take the time to acknowledge like what it feels like, especially as high achieving women like Maylin and myself. We're exhausted. Exhausted might be an understatement, but feeling really
light. That's a light word.
Right. Feeling exhausted and under-resourced in so many different ways, and really questioning like
my whole
entire life at this point. And I do
I'm so glad we can laugh about this.
Because it's just like we've been telling our team, and I literally tell myself every single morning, it's like, this has to be a season. Like, it's just a season that we are in. And, but the season feels really, really heavy. And, it's important to normalize struggling because, struggling is a real thing. But we also have to be mindful of like not to frame it as failure.
Yeah, because it's not failure. I think about the greats and of the people that are like multi-billionaires and millionaires and how many times they failed, right? Where they call it failure, but really that something did not work out. Mm-hmm. And then that pivoted them into the next thing and the next thing. And now they have like, giant organizations, but it ain't like they started out of their basement like we did. Mm-hmm. Their first few endeavors didn't work out. And after 10, maybe 20 years, now they're this big guru, a mogul. And we're looking at them like, oh my God, they're like invincible. Mm-hmm. But these people had a lot of tears and sweat and blood and sacrifice. So as we're going through our own storms, I think of those people, and what I think separates them for those that didn't achieve that level of success is that they didn't give up when it was so, because sometimes it's easier to give up. I mean, you have to choose your hard. I feel like it's hard to give up, but it's also super hard to continue going when it doesn't look right on paper.
Right.
And every avenue is like, shut this down and do something else. But then your heart and your intuition is telling you like, no, this is God's work, and God's work is not easy. And it's really hard. So that's what the thing that keeps me going many times is like, yeah, they're here now, but they went through hell to get here. And now we're in the hell, I like to believe. And I think that this is a setup for the come up. It's a setup for the next level. And anytime Christina and I could say this, we were ready for a breakthrough. It's like hell breaks loose. our families get sick or we get sick and things just start falling apart. And at times you could go into despair mode, and it's normal to feel like, what is going on? There's no way out of this. And then you have to stop and be like, okay, what can we control? Because you cannot control everything. We cannot control the government. We cannot control the environment. We cannot control other people's decisions and mindsets, outcomes, and certain things that we're doing. But we have to absolutely control like how we respond to things. And that's the only thing we have control of, to be honest. Is like, how do we respond and how do we move forward, you know, from this thing. And I've been listening a lot to like gratitude. So like the next few weeks before the end of the year, I'm going to spend like every day doing something I'm grateful for. I do this already every morning now more than ever, but like even sharing it on social media, because it is so heavy right now that you can only focus on what's not working out. And you have to focus also on what is going on, what's good in your life. Right? Like you have heat in your house. It's like, I don't know what degree. Let me look at my watch. It's 16 degrees right now in Ohio and Columbus, but you have heat in your house. And anytime I walk into my house, because at one point I didn't have heat because my furnace went out, I felt what cold was being like. And that was not a good thing. So now when I feel the warmth, I am extremely grateful. I don't know what else is not going well, but the fact that I have heat in my house and my son and I could be warm, that in itself is one of the biggest blessings I can count in my life right now.
Right. Yeah. No, I couldn't agree more. And being able to still like focus in and prioritize the good that is happening in your life. I mean, it is very easy to say like, oh, this isn't working out, or I don't have this, or this deal fell apart, and easily can get consumed by the what's not. What don't I have? And so being able to really circle back to the gratitude aspect, I do think is extremely important, especially when you're in seasons like the season we are in right now. It's just like, okay, yes, all these things are happening. However, let me lock in on what is good in my life and what, you know, we have been through, because we've been through worse storms. And even as you're listening, like, think about seasons that have been worse than where you are right now. And you've made it out of that and you're on the other side. And yeah, you might be in another storm right now. Nobody asked for this. Like, this is never like on anybody's vision board. Like, nobody wants to be like, I want to struggle all 2026. Like, nobody said that. Nobody wants to struggle all 2025. Nobody wants
26.
Nobody asked for that, but for whatever reason, it is what it is. Like, it's happening. We're here. And we have to be able to really think about, you know, we have to move this myth that hard seasons mean you're off track.
No.
It definitely is not always a symbol of you're off track. It could, I mean, a lot of things sometimes are truly out of your control. And so the idea is, okay, as Maylin mentioned, it's just like, all right, how do we pivot from here? What do I need to learn? What are the opportunities within this, you know, season of unsteadiness? And what do I feel like I have control over to really help, you know, get myself in a space of still moving forward, keeping that productive aspect, whether that's personally or professionally, because I think it's so easy just to like snowball everything. Like, this is all trash. Just throw it all away. Throw it all away. Just and it's like, no. You cannot throw it all away. Reel it in. Yeah, and then like, okay, so we talk about gratitude. So I'm driving here today. I thought about, it's also easy to focus on the people that are not coming through at a time that you thought these people were your people. Yeah. And that they have the means to possibly help and they're not. And you're like, what in the world, right? But focusing on those people is the wrong thing, because then you're not focusing on the people that are showing up, the ones that are coming through, the ones that maybe you just met a year ago, a few months ago, that are sticking their neck out for you. And that gave me a sense of gratitude also, because I'm like, let me be thankful for those that are still here. Let me be thankful for those that are coming through and making waves for us to survive this storm, and not focus so much on those that are not, because what is showing, it's that God is showing you who is in your corner. And in the moments of storms, as we have lived through, we always see who is in here for us, who is here for our mission, who is here to support, and who is not.
And, and you just have to bless them and be okay with that. And don't focus on those folks. Focus on the ones that are here, that are really putting in the work to help you survive this storm.
100%. And as Maylin mentioned, it's just, a lot of those people are people that God is sending your way.
Yes.
And I think that's so easy to, as Maylin mentioned, it's like, who's not here? And it's like, okay, well, who is here? And
Right.
And I think that is, I'm glad you brought that up, because I think this could be an opportunity to take inventory of like who really, who can you call? Who are people that you typically can connect with that'll help you, whether it's rebooting or just needing clarity or needing advice or guidance. Because one of the biggest things that I want to be able to highlight is, don't suffer in silence.
No.
I think it's we often have this imposter syndrome that, I'm the only one who can get me out of this. And it's not that you're not betting on yourself or your capabilities, but sometimes, and majority of the time, it's like somebody needs somebody, you know? And so understanding that, being able to take an inventory as to like, okay, all right, yeah, these certain folks that you thought were going to show up for you didn't show up for you. But who are the folks that are showing up for you? And who are the people that maybe they don't know what's going on? You might assume that, look, I posted about it. Like, a lot of people are busy. They're not reading social media like that. They're in their own storms. They're in their own heads. They're in their own day-to-day groove. So if you have not been intentional to set up time to have conversations, whether it be with family members or just your, external networks, this might be an opportunity for you to just pause and say like, okay, who haven't I connected with that I need to connect with? And, don't be afraid or embarrassed to be able to say, listen, I need to get a coffee with you or a Zoom or whatever, the case may be, because ultimately even in hard seasons, we can make it harder by not being, real about what we need to get out of this season.
Yeah, and sometimes I think as women and even men, it seems as a sign of weakness when you ask for help. And I think the most braver thing you can do is ask for help. That is not a sign of weakness. That is actually a sign of strength and wisdom, is to ask for help. And it takes a while, because to be honest, this is the conversation I had with my executive coach. I was like, I just want to have the money to solve all the things. Like, I just want to have it. I hate asking. I just want to be blessed with all the money, and then we can take care of the things we take care of and bless others. Because asking, especially when we work so hard, like, I don't like to. It's just something that I am working through, because it's hard for me, right? It's really difficult for me when I have worked since I was 14 years old to ask people for money, because that's why I work. Right? So that has been a challenge for me. And what my executive coach said was, you're not asking for you. You're asking for the girls and the women, the community that you serve, and you need help. So she gave me a task, and I did, and it took. I was totally against it. I did not want to ask our private group of coach. We have a group that we're coached together. I didn't want to ask them, because I was like, this is my peers. Like, we're all learning, we're all growing, we're all leaders. She was like, no, but they all want to help you. So go ahead and ask. And I did, and I started getting messages back right away. Like, okay, let me talk to my company. Let me talk to my peers. Let me see what I can do. Let me connect you with so and so. Let me talk to you. How can I help? And it was refreshing, and it reminded me, which is why I hope that whoever's listening today, if you're listening to this, you can walk away with this. There's a lot of people, like to Christina's point, in your life that want to help. They just don't know, And I hesitated going to my coaching session, because I'm like, I know I'm going to talk about this, and I don't want to talk about this, but I have to talk about this because this is on my heart. It's heavy on my heart. And I'm glad that I went. I felt so much lighter after that session. I felt like, okay, I can do this, And for those of you that are afraid to ask, I feel you 100%. But if you don't ask, it's like you're robbing somebody the opportunity to help you. And they want to help you. And if you are like us, like, we want to help people. We're not gatekeepers. Like, if we know something, we share it. Somebody comes to us for support, we're going to tell you what we know. And then you can take that information. I'm not going to tell you what to do, but I think sharing our experience with people and the struggles that we've been through helps a lot of people.
Right.
We have supported so many people, like people come to us, they learn from us, and they go build their own thing. And that is amazing because that makes me feel good. Christina and I cannot solve all the problems of the world. We're not going to be able to help every single girl and woman in the world. However, if more of us build the thing that we're called to do, then we can help more people. So when someone comes to us as a volunteer, board member, whatever, and they walk away and they're inspired enough to start their own thing, that is actually, for me, one of the biggest compliments, because we planted a seed in your heart and God helped water it, and then you went and did what God asked you to do.
Right.
And if we inspire you, awesome. So hopefully, because we do that for others, I got to remember that if somebody was in my situation and they came to me for help and I had the means to help, I will help. I won't feel like a handout that I'm giving out. I will feel like I am doing God's work. So with that mindset, I'm moving forward to the rest of the year. Like, I am going to share the need that we have with everyone that listens. And those that can help will help. And those that cannot will guide me to someone that can. And if even all they can do, which is amazing, is a prayer, I will take the prayer, because prayer moves mountains.
Right. Right. And I think what you're describing, Maylin, is like that unseen leadership. Because oftentimes it's like, you know, there's so much that happens behind the scenes that people don't even know about. Yeah, I mean, we are in this space where obviously right now of social media, and it's like, okay, I got to post this. I got to capture this moment. But there is so much unseen leadership. And that's those behind the door conversations, those private, you know, coffee chats, those meetings with your executive coach or your therapist or just somebody you highly respect. Because oftentimes, you know, leadership doesn't have to be this loud, bold, broadcasted thing. It's those moments where, you know, you are either leading or being led. And, you know, oftentimes that does happen, you know, off camera. It happens behind, you know, at the most random hours of the night, or just an impromptu meeting or conversation, whether you went into that meeting with that intention or came out with a specific takeaway that you weren't expecting. And so I think you have to be able to create time and space to be able to either lead or be led. And, you know, not always going into every setting feeling like you have to be in control, or you have to, you know, maybe you feel like, oh, I don't have anything to give in this moment. As Maylin mentioned, it's something as simple as just like, you know what, I don't, but let me connect you with this person, or let me pray for you, or let me share your fundraiser online. Like, those are the kinds of things that make a huge difference. And, you know, so just being able to think, as, you know, maybe you're not in a season of struggle right now, but you know people who are, you know, how can you support what they have going on, even as something as making an introduction, sharing, you know, those kinds of things all matter, and they do make a huge impact.
They do. And hopefully people can walk away with that. It also has made me think about relationships, right? Like, I think people say, like, leverage your relationships, and I never like to look at relationships like, what can I get out of it, right? Like, that has been for me, like, if it's not genuine, like, it just doesn't mean much for me.
Right.
But I think in the season where I be more intentional now, because I have more capacity, right? As my child is getting a little older, I have more capacity to be more intentional about these relationships that I have created or we're building. I see the importance of continue to really, like, nourish, right, and nurture the relationships that you have. And for those of you that have got connections with people, but then you're like, okay, that was a connection and then nothing else, I will encourage, which is something that I'm doing, is like, how can I be more intentional about meeting with these people once a month and checking in on them? Are they okay? Or, you know, is there anything that I can do for them? Because, you know, you may never know what you can do for people. So anyone that I'm ever connecting with, I always end the conversation with, what can I do for you? And they're like, well, I don't need anything to make it. No, I know, but is there anything that I can do for you? Because it has to be reciprocal, right? Like, if you do something for me, and maybe if you don't do something for me, I still want to do something. I still want to add value to your life, to your mission, to the things that you're working on. And I think Christina, I've seen her doing this too in our meetings. We always, even with potential donors, sponsors, we always want to know, like, how can we support the work that you're doing? Because it is not a transaction. It is a relationship. And in a relationship, you both give and get value. And if that's not what's happening, it's not a relationship. It's a transaction. And I don't want to live life as a transaction. You know, I want it to be good for both of us. So I thank Christina for always, like, she's been teaching me those things. And I think unintentionally I've done it in the past, but I now, with the wisdom that I have, I see it more clearly. And I'm more intentional about ensuring that that is part of our conversations with whoever we're meeting with.
Yeah, 100%. Because I think, those relationships are so critically important in life, not just in business. And I think it's so easy just to come together when there's an issue or there's a big ask. And so it's just trying to be more intentional about, how are we, even though you're in a season, we're in a season, understanding that other people are in seasons too. And so always wanting to be, mindful of like, maybe you can't help me, but maybe I can help you. And if that's what if that's what it was all about for us to link up today, then then that's just what it is. Because sometimes it'll be your turn and sometimes it'll be someone else's turn. And I think that, that's critically important to be able to to think about relationships truly as relationships and not just as transactions. And I think as we're talking about, more and more about just self-awareness, I think there's a big component of even how to tell the difference between burnout versus growth. Because I think easily these two kind of words can be interchanged, where you begin like feeling burnt out. But is it a burnout because you're really like needing some self-care or me needing to reevaluate, kind of like, is this for me any longer? Versus growth. And I think it's more so like maybe it's for you, but your strategy is played out. Your strategy, you're trying to hit the next level and you're still doing what you were doing at the beginning. And so I think really spending some time in a previous episode, we've had some different coaches come in to talk about burnout. We'll have another person we're interviewing who also teaches a lot about burnout. And I think that there is this kind of major awareness that a lot of us are burnt out right now. But it doesn't necessarily mean you are no longer you're no longer needing to pursue what you intended to pursue. I think it could very well be that there's some growth happening there, and you have to pause and really think about like, what am I doing in preparation for this new season that's making me feel like I'm burnt out? But really part of the problem is I'm not being strategic, or I'm not leveraging my skill sets. I'm not leveraging the team that I have. Am I taking enough time away? Have I taken too much time away? Because when you could easily just be like, oh, I'll do it tomorrow. And I think in a lot of our episodes, we often talk about discipline. Discipline is not a and or. It's a and. It goes forever, hand in hand. So part of it is just like, are you feeling frustrated because you really haven't identified the discipline, the schedule, how are you going to do what it is you said you wanted to do? We wrote a book, we have an organization, we're parents, we have all these moving parts. All of that can't just happen. We can't just wake up and be like, well, if it's meant to be, it's going to be.
In the name of Jesus.
I mean, there's a level of that optimism. Like, oh, if it don't work out, it wasn't for me. Like,
there's manifestation and there's action.
Listen, I mean, there's definitely, but it's just like, are you looking at your schedule on Sundays? Are you being like, okay, I got to be here? Are you really like mapping out your week so that when it's time to be in that particular setting, you are prepared? Nothing annoys me more or bothers me personally to show up to something that I feel like the other person wasn't prepared. Like at the end of the day, everybody's time is valuable. We all have children. We all have responsibilities, whether you have children, a pet, Asian grandparent, if you just the sole person for yourself.
So human.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like you don't have to have children for this to apply. But it's like if somebody made a meeting with you or you made a meeting with them, don't go to that meeting underprepared. Don't show up to that meeting late. Don't show up to that meeting without a specific, clear agenda. Now, if you're going there just as a simple catch up, that's cool. So having the understanding as to what is the point in the intention of that particular engagement. And so when we think about growth and we're thinking about a new year, we can come up with all the elaborate goals and vision boards and vision books. But if we're not spending time really thinking about the strategy, the discipline, the things we're going to put in place to be able to achieve that said list, then it's really a wish. It's kind of an idea. Like if I get to it, I get to it, cool. And that's fine. But just be honest about your list, because I think oftentimes it's just that could be part of your frustration. I didn't make, let's say your goal was to make $100,000 as net income for the year and you didn't hit that goal. Well, what strategies did you really, what disciplines, what system did you follow for the past 12 months to really achieve that goal? And if it's like, oh, I did a little bit of this, I did a little bit of that, you can't really be mad. Or if you didn't really make, keeping up with relationships a priority, you can't be mad when folks are having all these end of the year events and you're not invited. Like, there are things that we have to take some level of onus when we're thinking about, just strategy and impact. So I think a big part of what I'm looking to personally evaluate as I'm wrapping up this year and entering the new year is what's my strategy for 2026. And so understanding that, there were some goals we hit this year that I'm really very, very proud of. There's some other goals that, I think we could have done better. And so recognizing that, what am I prepared to do, commit to, reorganize in order to, hit those particular goals. So I think that that's something that I would encourage us to continue to think about, because that discipline is different than depletion, right? So you can be disciplined. If you're that person that is disciplined, I love that. I like to be around people who are disciplined because it motivates me to be more disciplined. Because there's an easy confusion between discipline and depletion. You're either disciplined and you're really being intentional about how you are rejuvenating yourself so that you can hit those metrics, so you can kind of follow those systems. And then there's a part where you're just so depleted that nothing is working. And there's a whole bunch of different reasons as to why that is. So I really want us, and I would love for you all that are listening, to think about discipline versus depletion, burnout versus growth. Because what people see, what you see on social media and all that ain't the in-between. That's not always the discipline. That's not always the growth opportunity. It's what folks want you to see. So don't spend too much time seeing how this person does it, this person does it. Like, find some people that you actually have access to, that you can sit down with, have conversations and say, okay, tell me more about this, because I want to be more effective in this particular way. What are your systems? What is your process? Because I think sometimes social media will have us thinking, we got to get up at 4 a.m., which some people get up at 4. We've had folks on this podcast who are like, I get up at 4, I do this, and this. If that's your thing, then that's your thing. But that's not the formula for all people, for all what quote unquote successful people do. For me, you got a 10 to 4 window. Don't ask like before 10. And maybe that's the wrong thing. Maybe that's something I have to work on to be more disciplined. But I know
that's a pretty long window. I feel like that's a pretty great window.
I'm not a morning person and I'm not a night person. I'm in the middle. I'm in the midday person. Yes. I don't know if that's a category, but that's just when my brain works the best.
But I think that's important because everybody's different. Yeah. Like, not everybody is a morning person. Everybody's an afternoon person or an overnight person, right? So you just have to know what kind of person you are and then set the systems that are going to help you based on when you function the best. Like, every coach will figure out when you're optimal. For you, is 10 to 4. That's a pretty long window. Actually, that's a whole day of work. So that is a pretty good window. And if it works for you, fantastic. I've seen you achieve a lot. So I like you to share with a group, like, what is your strategy or systems that you're currently using, right? Mm-hmm. Because she shows up to everything on time. I feel like 15, 20 minutes, as per Carl's, one of her assistants says. She's always on time to things. She's super prepared, right? Like, if you could give people maybe 3 things or 5 things, whichever number, of what you do, when you do it, to accomplish the things that you set out to do during the week.
That's a long. We
10
have,
to 4.
We have 2 minutes left.
Well, go ahead, make it fast.
But I think for me, every week I create a to-do list. I look at and I write it. I know some folks like to put things in beautiful digital. I'm a writer, so I have tons of little notebooks. I write my list for the week, and I literally will cross things off as I achieve them throughout the week, and then at the top of the next week, I look at the list from the previous week, and whatever doesn't have an X through it now goes on to my new list. Sundays, I check my calendar for the week. So I know it gives me a snapshot as to where am I supposed to be and like who I'm meeting with, so I can mentally begin to get in those headspaces of if I miss meeting with this person, or if I have this interview, or if I have to be. It gives me just like almost like you're ahead in the game, I guess. It's kind of like that pre-workout drink that you have before you go to the gym. Seeing my schedule on Sunday just allows me to say, okay, this is what I need to do. And then I'm always thinking about traffic. I mean, traffic now, at least where we live, is so much more chaotic. So recognizing that you can't give yourself just 15 minutes to get anywhere now. You want to at least leave 30 minutes, 40 minutes, depending on what side of town you have to be on. Because like I said, time is money, and people making time to come meet you, waiting for you 15, 20 minutes, to me, it's a form of disrespect. If I've made the time to come be, and then I get emergency happens, but if you're late all the time, it's not a coincidence. It's just you're just not prioritizing your time.
Of the time management.
It's not
Dominicans.
It's just there's only so many excuses personally that I feel like you can make. But that's everybody has to practice that. It's not, and I think understanding that what do you need to do in your household so that you can be ready to go at said time. So is that getting your clothes ready the night before? Is it having an idea of what your hairstyle is going to be? Do you have gas in your car? So it's a checklist of several things that, for me, Sunday's my reset. I know that's the day I have to get gas. That's the day that laundry needs to be done. I'm like, okay, am I washing my hair today? So just thinking about when I see I have a lighter week, I don't feel like I need to do as much on Sunday, because then I'm like, okay, I can do that tomorrow. But if my week is going to start off busy from Monday on, then a lot of that prep work goes into Sunday. And I think being able, to have those conversations with the kids so that they know, listen, you got to be on schedule tomorrow because I got to leave here at this time. Or same thing with my partner. It's like, listen, Thursday, you're not going to see me the whole day. So you figure out what's for dinner. Those are the kinds of things, because that's your team. Mm-hmm. If you think about it, you have a team at work and you have a team in your household. And if you don't have a team in your household, then you are the team.
Welcome, one person team.
That's it. So anyway, so what works for me may not work for you, but it's definitely something that I need to get better about certain pieces of it for next year. But I think for me, those are things that have, been a big part of how I prepare for my weeks. And then I schedule like out in advance. So like I already know like when my weekends are for my family time. So holidays, those kinds of things, I block off on my calendar in advance so that it doesn't feel like, like right now, Christmas is next week.
Is it next week?
It's next week.
Today.
Yeah, Christmas is next week. And so just recognizing that I knew my kids would be out of school next week. So if you don't meet with me by this Friday,
so I'll see you in January.
I'll see you in January, just because now I know that now that part of my brain, I'm responsible for their childhood. And I have to remind myself of that often, that everything, whether I, as successful as I want to maintain and I want to be, I'm also responsible for parts of their childhood. And so carving out the time needed to be able to be an effective mom is equally important to me as being an effective leader and CEO. And so that way, when I'm in one particular setting, I'm going 100% as much as I can. And when I'm in the other setting, I can also lock in and just be in that space.
That's beautiful. That's harmony. Hopefully, thank you for sharing that. Hopefully everyone got something out of that, because there's a lot of great things shared and a lot of great strategy. And again, you may not be able to do every single thing Christina or somebody else that you admire does, but at least you can listen to what works for them and then see what could work for you. And just try one thing. Don't go all extremist and try to do 3,000 things, because that's also not helpful.
No.
But maybe pick one thing. Like for me, it's the on time thing. I'm going to go with that one. I'm definitely going to work on 2026. One of the goals is to be on time. And as a Dominican, against my DNA, we're going to
keep blaming being a Dominican.
Listen, I will do my
shout out. If you're a Dominican and you're on time, please enter the chat.
I know a few people that are Dominicans and on time, but they're very Americanized. So I was just like,
you've been here since you were what, 12?
And still I'm freezing. Right now I'm freezing and I have like triple layers of clothes. So listen, I'm very deep into the thing, but it's not an excuse. So I'm not like trying to make an excuse for it. I'm just saying this is part of what I have been for a long time, and I just want to do better, right? So for me, I want to do better. So in 2026, that's one of my goals. I definitely tried today, guys. I was so proud. And then no parking. Anyways, but I'm working on that. And so as we walk away today and we're getting ready to end the episode, I do want you to kind of think about some of the things that we talked about. So as a recap, as you're going through the storms, think of your first thing I will really try to focus on is gratitude. So find something to be grateful for every day, because when you're grateful, I think more great things come your way.
Right.
Focus on the people that are in your life that are supporting, not those that are not here. Bless and release those that are not available to support, and focus on locking on those that are. Relationships are important, not just transactions. So if you have people in your life that have been great to you, please be great to them. Be intentional about continue to nurture that relationship. It should be mutually valuable. And then discipline. That is something that we're still, for 43 years, I'm still working on that. It looks different for everyone. But do what you can, right? Because you're not going to feel motivated and inspired every day. There's days that you just don't want to do it, but you have to do it because your future depends on it. So find a way of what can keep you in the discipline, and start with little things. So maybe it's waking up at a certain hour. Maybe it's, walking every day, like for 5 minutes. Maybe it's meditating for 5 minutes. Start with something small and do that every day. And as you accomplish that little goal, then you can go into other things and then add other things. But I think being successful in one piece of your life and being consistent in that piece could build a momentum for the other pieces.
100%. And so as we wrap this episode today, one of the things I would like to add on to Maylin's reflection list or reflection question for our listeners is, what if this hard season isn't a detour, but the training ground for what's next? What if this hard season isn't a detour, but the training ground for what's next? So spend some time, think about that. Feel free to send us your reflections, put it in the chat, put it in a comment. As always, we are here to support you. You can send us an email at info@trueprintforlife.com. And we look forward to welcoming you back here very soon. The new year, 2026, is just around the corner, but we are here. And if you haven't picked up our latest copy of our book, The Journey from Who You Are to Who You're Meant to Be, feel free to grab that. It's on Amazon, Kindle. It's a great holiday gift. And to learn more about Femergy, please visit www.femergy.org to learn more about how you can support girls and women's development here locally in Central Ohio. So as we always close every episode at True Print for Life, it's bigger than you.
Thank you so much for listening today. We're excited and we hope that you follow us on
Instagram, True Print for Life, YouTube channel, also True Print for Life. And make sure that you share, like, watch our videos. Make sure that you follow us on all streaming platforms.